19th, 2024 shall come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mark, seconded by Creighton. We approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. To the consent agenda, you have a copy of the minutes of February 5th, 2024. We need approval of the bills and claims, of which you also have a copy. We need to set proposed fiscal year 25 tax rate levy and establish April 1st of 2024 at 5:15 p.m. as the special meeting for budget levy hearing. We set the date for council workshop for 8 a.m. on February 23rd, 2024 in the council chambers at City Hall. And we have a resolution, 2413, a resolution opposing the Alliant Energy utility rate increase. And we have the following licenses and permits. Liquor license, Class C retail alcohol license, 173 Craft Distillery, Class C retail alcohol license, Rookies and Sevens, Class C retail alcohol license, TAP. Those are all renewals. And we have an excavator license, Charleston Excavating, John Rice Excavating renewals. Since we have a resolution, I'll need a motion and a second, and then we'll have a discussion on that particular resolution 2413. Motion, please, to approve the consent agenda as a whole.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Bennett, seconded by Beth Ann, that we approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Now I'll entertain discussion on resolution 2413. We each have received a copy of that. You might want to come through. I think some of us got a letter, Scott, correct me if I'm wrong on this, a letter or a statement from some community in northeast Iowa that they were opposing and were getting others to oppose as well. I'll go on here just a minute. And I do believe that the utilities board, they're the ones that make the final decision on this. And that's why I question on our particular one, that if we send it to our representatives and our senator, is that the appropriate place for it, or will they simply funnel it on to the utilities board?
We're sending it both.
Both places.
So the
Okay.
resolution that's included in your packet is just a boilerplate model that was
That's what I thought,
drafted.
yeah.
It's probably been passed by, Alliant probably has about 300 or so cities, I would speculate, in Iowa. My guess is probably every single one of them is going to pass this exact same resolution. It was just one that was put together, I think, a group out of Decorah put it together, but it's
Right.
model resolution, boilerplate language, so nothing in there really unique to our situation. But yes, after it would be approved here this evening, the clerk would file a copy with the Iowa Utilities Board for purposes of their hearing, and then also we would just file a copy with the offices of our state senator and representative.
I see. Okay. Thanks for that explanation. Appreciate that. Is there any other discussion, council members?
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I would like to comment on this. I do appreciate the fact that these other local governments, and we consider them partners, like the county, like Mason City, have approved a resolution already opposing this Alliant rate increase. Now, I would suggest that I certainly do appreciate the work that we do with Alliant and in partnership here locally, but I do think it's important to say publicly that this rate request, I think, is very excessive on their part. That's how I would characterize it. And so I'm very much happy to oppose it. And hopefully the Iowa Utilities Board will take that into account. So thank you, Mayor.
Yes, I would agree with that. a while back, I'm glad Scott held his ground on that. This goes back about 15 years now when, they put a huge pole right across the parking lot here for some tremendous amount of money. And, at that time, things weren't real good, but they are now. I do think they're better. We have a number of Alliant people who live in this community and who respond to us, I believe, quite quickly when we ask them to, and very pleased with the work that they are doing,
Right.
at least in our community here at this point in time. Other comments, council people? None appearing, roll call. Mark?
Yes.
Creighton?
Yes.
Beth Ann?
Yes.
And Bennett?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2413 is duly adopted, and the consent agenda passes 4-0. Now is the time and place for any citizen in the audience who wishes to address the council on any item or issue that is not on the agenda. Please approach the podium, state your name first and last, and give your address so the clerk can properly enter the minutes. It's not a discussion time nor a question and answer time, but it is an opportunity for you to speak, and you have 3 to 5 minutes. None appearing, we'll move on to unfinished business, of which there is none. We'll go directly to new business. We're on 6A at this point on your agenda, general obligation essential corporate purpose debt issuance for Series 2024A capital projects in an amount not to exceed $1.625 million. Review, Mr. Flory. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I should also mention in recognition of President's Day, I've got my flag sweater on. I also wear it on Election Day as well. Just looking at the items in your packet, the first purple sheets in your packet is an engagement letter that would be executed between Northland Securities and the City of Clear Lake. Basically, it outlines the engagement services that Northland Securities would provide to the city in performing the role of placement agent on this proposed $1.625 million debt issuance here. And if you look at the items 1 through 5 there on that front page, it identifies all of the services that would be included within the scope of their role as placement agent. A lot of kind of finance and legalese on the next couple of pages. Just maybe point out on page 2, the fee is based on the total par amount of the issue, so we have set that at 1.15%. And that does include out-of-pocket expenses such as travel and copying cost and preparation of various transcripts. Continuing on the back side of the purple sheet there is a source and use of funds sheet that identifies the projects that we're talking about. Of course, we've talked about this for several meetings, but you'll see those 3 projects identified as the infrastructure related to the housing project for the South Shore State subdivision, the infrastructure related to the housing project for the Emerald Edge Townhome project, and the municipal band shell and Lakeview room upgrades in City Park. So that arrives at, again, as I mentioned earlier, a par amount of debt that we'd issue of $1,623,000. So the gray sheets that follow that, we've got a resolution that identifies our intent to borrow money in a principal amount not to exceed $1,625,000, it's a round number, again, for those same 3 projects that I just mentioned. And it sets the date for the public hearing on this proposal for March 4th, 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. And then the back side of that sheet is the notice that would be published in the newspaper. And then just a little bit further in the way of some review, again, as I mentioned, we'll set the date for the public hearing on the proposal to issue into this loan agreement an amount not to exceed $1.625 million for the costs associated with various infrastructure improvement projects, including the municipal band shell project. As we've done in the past, this would be a private placement, so that's why Northland Securities would be serving as the role of placement agent. So we anticipate, like with our more recent issues, that there is a good appetite with our local banks here in the area for this debt issuance. acting on it now so that, I should also mention, we do not anticipate using any available tax increment financing funds for any of these projects to pay the debt service. So acting on this now, we're able to get a debt service included in our fiscal year 25 budget, so that's why we're acting on it now. As we mentioned in some of our council budget workshops, we're looking at probably a levy rate adjustment of 20 cents per thousand to service the debt associated with this bond issue and amortize it out over a 10-year payment schedule. As I mentioned, we'll utilize Northland Securities as a placement agent for the issue. Just as a reminder, Northland worked with the city back in 2020 when we issued debt for the Wellness Center project. They also later then worked with us on an issue related to the property acquisitions for South 15th Street, Everybody Plays property, as well as the Woodford Wheeler acquisition. And then later on, we worked with them for a larger debt offering for the development of the Everybody Plays playground at South 15th Street. So again, those were $600,000 for the property acquisition, $1.3 million for the park, and $700,000 for the wellness center. So again, as I mentioned, the market does appear to be pretty strong for our debt at the moment, so we think we're in a good situation, hopefully capitalize on some favorable interest rates. It's not going to be what we had the last time around, which is, again, when we, I think, set the all-time record of anywhere for, we were at like 0.34 and 0.35, 0.34 and maybe 0.5 on a couple of those issues. So going to be a little higher today. But I think it'll be nonetheless a pretty favorable rate. So I should also mention Northland does assist the city in working with our outside legal counsel, bond counsel on the proposal. And I think, as we've discussed before, just the use of an outside third party for this does increase the level of transparency and improves the efficiency of the overall process. So in terms of the timeline, I've kind of alluded to that briefly here a little bit, but February 15th, we provided the notices to the public, to the newspapers. February 19th, tonight, we'll set March 4th as the date for the public hearing on the proposed general obligation loan agreement and approve Northland Securities as the placement agent. Then on February 20th, we're going to publish this in both the Mirror Reporter as well as the Globe Gazette. So February 20th, the public notice will appear in the Globe Gazette. February 22nd, it will appear in the Clear Lake Mirror Reporter. Then fast forward to your meeting on March 4th, we'll conduct the public hearing and take the additional action that's required under the Code of Iowa for that. We're anticipating around March 14th to have bank proposals due to us to review, and then to bring those to you at your meeting on March 18th to consider the authorization of those general obligation corporate purpose loan notes. And then probably that first week or so of April, we would anticipate closing and receipt of the funds. So I don't have anything further on that unless anybody has any questions. I'd be happy to respond to those.
Council questions for Scott?
Yes, Your Honor. Scott, thank you for explaining that. I appreciate that. You know, I know we have a history of being very careful in our use of debt, and as you mentioned, we've gotten some great rates on that. You know, it just looks to me like, obviously, when we do use debt, it's for fantastic projects. We've talked about the strategic need for housing in this community, and two of these relate to that. So I wanted to ask you if you could just comment briefly on the demand that we're seeing, for example, with that project at South Shore Estates and so on, because I think it really is impressive.
Yep. Well, thank you for mentioning a couple of those. Yeah, we've been very judicious about our use of debt. Once in a while, people will say something, but we clearly have among the lowest levels of debt in the United States. I mean, it's easier to talk about that than probably learn the facts. But yes, our level of indebtedness, we're around 3-4%. the gold standard is about 70%, 65 to 70% is considered pretty good. So 3% is essentially you have no debt.
Right.
And so we have not issued much debt over the years. So we are, as you suggest, in a good spot to be issuing this and some other debt that's coming up here in the future. I should also mention that Chip Schultz with Northland Securities is on the phone as well. And at any time, if you have any questions for Chip, feel free to bounce a few his way. But yes, the projects that we have contemplated for this debt, the housing projects anticipate some real strong interest. I know in talking to the developer out there, they already have several of those pre-sold already, both at the twin home level as well as the single family lots. So pretty robust activity out there. And of course, we're just now engaged with the other project, the townhome project, and their engineer, and so we anticipate getting that one off the ground here in the next month or so. But again, would anticipate pretty strong, positive public reaction to the availability of those units coming on the market. And then again, it's a little off your question, but the refurbishment of our venerable municipal band shell,
Right.
you know, what an iconic feature. Much like the seawall from a short while ago. It
Right,
just
I
needed-
appreciate that, because that's where I was going next. is
Yep, needed a
exactly-
little
This is a
TLC.
centerpiece, and I'll let you
Yep.
finish, yeah.
Yep, just needed a
Yeah.
little TLC
Yeah.
and some updating. And, you know, it's amazing, like on the Lakeview room, again, I know we've talked about this 1,000 times, but 25 years since that's been built, and just a refurbishment and updating was probably more than overdue. So,
Thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions, comments for Scott, council? Chip, do you have anything?
No, I would just say I appreciate being able to work with the city on the financing, and Scott, as always, had an excellent summary of what's proposed, and we look forward to bringing a competitive interest rate financing back to the city council, and happy to answer any other questions that folks might have.
Good, that word competitive is important. Thanks, it's always been a pleasure to work with you, Chip, and we're looking forward to this opportunity as well. So appreciate your being on tonight very much. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Okay, council, entertain a motion to approve engagement letter with Northland Securities as placement agent, Series 2024A, general obligation debt issue. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Beth Ann, seconded by Creighton, that we approve the engagement letter with Northland Securities. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries. And now, a motion to approve Resolution 2414, a resolution to set the date for a public hearing, which shall be March 4th, 2024, on a proposal to enter into a general obligation corporate purpose loan agreement and to borrow money thereunder in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $1,625,000. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Creighton, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2414. Is there any discussion? Roll call, Creighton,
Yes.
Beth Ann,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
and Mark.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2414 is duly adopted. Thank you. 6B, City Hall Security / ADA upgrades and office remodel project. Project update, review of pace with number 2 and number 3. Matt Stedding, our city engineer. Welcome, Matt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council. Good evening. So we'll be going over, like you said, pay application number 2. So please note that their original contract sum was in the amount of $828,100 with Hinkle Construction. We had no change orders this period, which brings us to a total completed and stored to date of $50,762. We will take the 5% retainage out of that amount to bring us to the total earned, less the retainage of $48,223.89. Total payments last period were $38,830.06. which brings us to a total balance due this period ending 12/31 of $9,393.83. If you flip the page, we'll kind of go through a few of the tasks. You'll note most of these for this period are in column E. We have kind of the standards, row 1, supervision, row 2, row 4, demo, row 21, we'll have some HVAC and plumbing involved. Row 22, we'll have some electrical. Adding these tasks together bring us to that $9,888.25. And just also kind of please note the dollar figure for this period is a little bit less due to the prior period we had that remediation of the asbestos. Yes, so that's kind of why we're looking at that smaller figure for that period. If you flip over to the yellow sheets, we'll review pay app number 3. So please note again, the original contract sum in the amount of $828,100 with Hinkle Construction. This period, we did have a change order of $1,554.95. This was due to, there was a layout change for the conference room and we had to redo some lighting. So that was where this amount comes in, which brings the new contract sum to $829,654.95. So we have a total completed this period of $117,664.25, less our standard 5% retainage, brings us to a total earned less retainage of $111,781.02. So we're going to take out the previous payment of $48,223.89, which brings us to a total payment due this period of it brings us to a total due of $63,557.13. So we'll have a total project balance to finish after this period of $717,873.93. So if we turn the page, we'll note again, I'm just going to hit some of these big ones that I've highlighted. So we had some helical piers installed this period, which if you guys have been touring over in the new project, you'll note that we have some steel vertical columns over there. So Hinkle had brought through an 800-pound beam to support that braces through our conference room area. So it was a big boy. And in those columns, they had to anchor 4 helical piers within each of those. So that brings that dollar amount where you're seeing there. And then we also have 2 steel beams to put up yet to finish. So I just want to go through I had a conversation with Ryan, the super, and for this week, tomorrow, they have scheduled to take down the structural scaffolding. So that'll get taken out of there, which by the end of the week, they're supposed to have both additional structural beams put up that's going to brace across the conference room area. And as soon as they get that finished, they're going to try to get the exterior demolition of the windows and walls and doors all cut this week. So that'll be completed. And then moving on to the following week, the framers are going to be back in. Once all that structural scaffolding's out of there, they're going to get back in and get the framing finished on the conference room area. And after that, electrical will start the rough in, and that is tentative for the week following that. And that's kind of where we're sitting right now for construction. If you guys have any questions for me, feel free to ask.
So we're going to update the time that we can get in there to May 1st rather than June 24th?
That's the goal, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you, Matt, for the presentation, and welcome again to the team.
Thank you very much. Super excited.
Thanks, man. We'll entertain a motion to approve pay estimates number 2 and number 3. Number 2 at $9,393.38. Number 3, $63,557.13 to Henkel Construction, Mason City, with regard to the City Hall security ADA upgrade, aids, and office remodel. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Beth Ann, seconded by Mark, that we approve pay estimates number 2 and 3. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried 4-0. C, 2024 Pickleball Basketball Courts Improvement Project. Intro, Mr. Flory again. Welcome, Scott.
Thank you, Mayor. The pink sheet in your packet is the first one addressing this item. It's a resolution to set the date for a hearing on the plan specs, estimate cost, form of contract, ordering bids, and setting a bid date for the 2024 pickleball and basketball court improvement project. It establishes 11 a.m. on Thursday, March 14th as the date for the bid letting, and then your meeting on March 18th, 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers for the public hearing on the plans and specifications and also consideration of an awarded contract. Jason and Matt will go through this here a little bit more with you, but that engineer's estimate in your packet's a little bit of a placeholder for the time being. You know, still, I think even up to this afternoon, we're still kind of working through some things that we're going to be able to do in-house and make some other modifications, all to try to make sure that we can stay within our proposed budget parameters for this project and still get as good a project as we possibly can. The next sheet is just a timeline for the project. Again, I've mentioned that the bid letting will be March 14th, 11 a.m., public hearing March 18th, 5:30, same for the award of contract. Then at your meeting on April 1st, you would consider approval of the contract and bonds for the project, and we'd anticipate beginning the project that first part of April and having it all completed within our fiscal year 24 budget, so prior to June 30th. The next sheet is the notice to bidders. That's, of course, required to be posted on our website and various plan rooms, et cetera. So that's, again, just indicating the date for the bid letting, et cetera. And then the purple sheet after that is the notice of the public hearing. That's the one that will be published in the newspaper, again, indicating March 18th, 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers for the date of the public hearing. And then we've included some sheets from the project that Jason can review with you in a little bit here as well. So just as a reminder, again, we've been working on this what seems like a very long time. We've been working in cooperation with Clear Lake Community School District as well as the local pickleball group and also with Sierra Gorda County on this project. So it's in our fiscal year 24 budget to undertake what I think is a pretty nice project for the community. Obviously, we're talking about the area on North 20th Street, west of the current tennis courts and just east of the road there on the other side from the cemetery there. So the existing, as you well know, the existing basketball courts have been in very poor condition for a very long time. So the proposal is, again, as you well know, to resurface that existing basketball court. There's 2 courts, four hoops there, and turn that into 6 pickleball courts and then build a new basketball hardcourt basketball facility just on the other side west of the pickleball court. So again, the scope of the financial participation that we're receiving from the school district is $17,500, and that translates to roughly 1/3 of the cost of the basketball court. They are not a fiscal partner in the pickleball portion of the project, only in the basketball component. So that's more of a 2/3, 1/3 split between the city and the county on that. As you well know, the Pickleball Club has continued their fundraising efforts for, well, probably more than a year and a half or so now, and between the private fundraising that they've done as well as the $30,000 contribution that we're receiving from Sierra Gorda County, they have about $115,000 that they've secured to put towards the overall estimated cost of this project, which not including some of the amenities that have to be purchased by the city outside the scope of the construction contract, anticipating that the overall construction portion of the project should be in that less than $200,000 category. So again, subject to bidding, of course. So just as the way of reminder, again, back at the August 18, 2023 council meeting, you had hired Veenster and Kim to be the professional service consultant on this project, and we have a professional services agreement with them in an amount not to exceed just a little under $21,000 for design, bidding, and construction administration services. If you recall from the overall budget makeup, the city's portion of the project is roughly $100,000 towards this project. So $100,000 from the city, $17,500 from the school, and the rest from the local pickleball club, essentially. So just wanted to point out, so the value of the in-kind work, we propose to do certain things in kind. There'll be some tree removal, basketball court, post removals, fence removals, some sub-drain work, some things like that, to try to keep it within our project budget parameters. We'll do a few of those things in-house and count that as an in-kind contribution to the project as well. So when you add all of those things into the project, we're with our cash contribution to the project plus those in-kind services, we're probably about 63% or so of what this overall project should cost. So strong partnership here with the city. So,
You know, once again, I think we need to get this out because this is how we operate here. You know, public, private, and you look here, you've got the school district, you've got Saragordo County, obviously you have us, and numerous individuals and businesses within our community have supported this project. And thanks for quarterbacking that, Scott.
I've done very little, to be honest. Others have done far more than I.
But you're collecting it all.
Shuffling the papers, making sure we don't go over budget. I'm the taskmaster.
Any
That's
other
it.
comments?
Yes, I'd just like to say I'm excited for this project. I know this is one that I had the opportunity to work on when it was getting started. And I think, like the mayor's saying over here, it's a great partnership between multiple groups. The Clear Lake Pickleball Group, of course, has been persistent, and I think they're persistent in their requests. But what's also excellent is they were persistent in their fundraising. So they were able to raise more than I think the initial goal there, and then to have the school come on financially, as well as, of course, this is their property that they're allowing this to happen on, and then for the county to be a part of it, and the city to be a part of it. Great partnership, maybe not the biggest project in terms of dollars, but of course the Clear Lake Pickleball Group is growing. There's a lot of people that use our courts at the Wellness Center and use these tennis courts that are right adjacent to this project as well, and they'll continue to use these in the future. And then for the basketball court, I don't think we have a full court, public outdoor basketball court in the city right now. So a great opportunity for this project to expand beyond pickleball as well. So excited to see this project underway and excited for the great partnerships.
Yes, and Creighton, also known as Muhammad Ali, trying to show me how to play such a simple game, took his paddle and used my nose as the extra ball.
I was there as a witness.
And, you know,
The ball hit him, it
drip,
wasn't the
drip.
paddle.
Yeah. My wife said,
I said, "You're bleeding. Call a lawyer. Call a lawyer." But he wouldn't do it.
page 2. There you go, thanks.
And Mayor, I would just echo those thoughts too that you and Creighton made. I think it's a great partnership that we have there. And frankly, you know, looking at not only this project, but the others that we talked about that we're issuing debt for, it's really pretty impressive that a community of our size can do a lot of these things, particularly, you know, all together. And I think it speaks very highly of, as you pointed out, Mayor, our city administrator, our quarterback, Mr. Flory, does a fantastic job juggling all that, and our staff, okay, and our partners. But I don't know of any communities our size, frankly, in Iowa that are doing the kinds of projects that we are doing. So I just want to highlight that for people. So thank you.
Mr. Petersburg. Jason Petersburg, Veenstra and Kim Engineer. Welcome, Jason.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. The last 3 pages in your packet are the drawings that we included that highlight the scope of this work. The plan is to repurpose the existing outdoor basketball courts into the 6 pickleball courts and construct the new basketball court to the west side of the pickleball courts. The pickleball portion of construction that's going to be bid as part of the contract that we're going to go out for here includes the asphalt resurfacing of the old basketball court, installation of the acrylic surfacing, installation of the pickleball net post sleeves through the pavement, and the installation of the new 4-foot tall chain link fence that goes between the individual courts. The basketball basketball court will be bid as an asphalt court. It'll be an alternate to this project, and then we're also gonna solicit a quote for concrete paving, just so we can get a couple of different bids for that portion. And then the intent would be to award the contract to the lowest bid between the concrete and asphalt for the basketball court. The bases for the basketball hoops will also be part of the bid for the basketball court, but the actual hoops, they'll be furnished and installed by others. I met with an electrician out there on site this morning. We did get did do a trial run on the existing basketball courts, which will be the new pickleball, or the existing basketball court lights, which will be the new pickleball courts, and everything works. He checked out the controls, everything's good. It's understood the city's already looking at replacing the lights at the tennis courts, so I had a discussion with Scott this morning, and we're gonna pull the lighting out of this project as bid and add the new lights for the for the pickleball courts to the project that you're gonna be doing for the tennis courts. It's the same scope of work, same person's gonna be doing it, same fixture, so it makes sense.
I'm just going to add to that, that's another partnership with our school. By the way, Jason called me on President's Day. I was celebrating in the middle of my celebration on President's Day when he called. But that's another partnership that we have with the school where they're going to pay 50% of the lights on the tennis courts, and we'll also pay 50%. And as he mentioned, then we'll be able to kind of piggyback on that with our pickleball project here, so kind of a win-win.
Excellent.
We had estimated about $25,000 worth of lighting work there, so that'll be removed from this estimate, and then that work will be picked up as part of the other project, as well as there's going to be one security light, just an area light installed over the basketball court, not designed for nighttime basketball play, more for security. Since we started down this project, Scott's been keeping an eye on the budget, and we've been brainstorming ways to keep this project within budget. So right now we have city staff doing the tree removal, basketball hoop removal, subdrain work, the concrete work for the sidewalk and the bleacher pads, and the fence removal. There's some in-kind donations for the tree planting and topsoil work. And then, like I mentioned, the electrical or lighting will be done as part of the tennis court project. So the estimate we had in the packet was right at $163,000. So we'll be at $138,000 or so is where our estimate will end up when we send this thing out to bid tomorrow. I guess with that, I don't have anything else to share. Tonight's request is for council authorization to approve a bid letting date as March 14th at 11 with the public hearing on the plans and specs and the contract award scheduled for the March 18th council meeting. Any questions?
Questions for Jason? Well done, Jason. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2415, a resolution to set the date for a public hearing, which shall be March 18th, 2024, and a bid letting on March 14th at 11 a.m. right here in the council chambers on the proposed 2024 pickleball and basketball courts improvement project. Motion, please.
So moved.
Moved by Creighton, seconded by Mark, that we approve Resolution 2415. Is there any discussion? Roll call. Beth Ann?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Creighton.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Resolution 2415 is duly adopted. Chief report, swearing-in ceremony for Lieutenant Brandon Heinz as captain for the Clear Lake Police Department and the administration of the oath of office.
Give my January report real quick. I think you have in your packets there the January monthly report from the PD. A couple things to highlight real quick. The entire department, or the law enforcement side there, our sworn officers went through the implicit bias training in January that was required by law. So we've checked off that box for us for this year. As a reminder for the council and everybody in the audience and anybody else listening online that the outdoor warning siren replacement, the countywide project, is coming to fruition, and they'll be testing those Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So if you hear those going off, weather looks good, it's because they're testing all the sirens in the county. So I'm not quite sure if they're gonna test Clear Lakes Wednesday or Thursday, but they should be going off each individual siren individually. So if you're outside, you'll hear them each several times throughout those 2 days there. And then lastly, with our next item we're going to address here, we have started our process to replace Lieutenant Hines SU gets promoted tonight to Captain Hines with the new lieutenant. So real quick, as Brandon comes up and the mayor comes down, I'll just give you a quick history of Brandon. And so he grew up in Clear Lake, graduated from high school here in 2002, served in the Air Force at Office Air Force Base in Nebraska for 4 years. He was assigned to security forces as a patrolman. He holds a bachelor's degree in science of criminal justice from Bellevue University out of Nebraska. He spent 6 years with the Shenandoah County Sheriff's Office, so he was promoted to sergeant at that time. We stole him away from them, as we have with a couple other employees here. He joined the police department here in 2015, was promoted in 2020 to lieutenant, and here in about 2 minutes, he'll be promoted to captain. Congratulations, Brandon. And family, friends, you guys take pictures, by all means, come on up.
Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Brandon Hines,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
that I will uphold the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the Constitution of the State of Iowa
and the ordinances of the City of Clear Lake,
and the ordinances of the City of Clear Lake,
and will faithfully discharge the duties
and will faithfully discharge the duties
of police captain for the City of Clear Lake
of police captain of the City of Clear Lake
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
and that I will serve
and that I will serve
the citizens of the United States,
the citizens of the United States,
the State of Iowa,
the State of Iowa,
and the City of Clear Lake
and the City of Clear Lake
honestly and faithfully,
honestly and faithfully,
and will obey the orders
and will obey the orders
of the officers and officials
of the officers and officials
placed over me according to law.
placed over me according to law.
Congratulations, Captain. Raise
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Public Work Director report, update 210 North 4th Street, former Woodford Wheeler Lumber Company demo project. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. With the great weather we've been having, they've been able to continue work down there, so they should be finishing the fine grading and the rock base possibly tomorrow, and then going right over into completing the storm sewer work. And based on how that goes, we'll be looking at the soils, and there's a chance that we'll start PCC work as well. So there's an outside chance that the project could be wrapped up by the end of the month, just depending on how the grounds look after they dig that storm sewer in. So everything's moving along quite well there, way ahead of schedule. So one good thing with the nice weather, right? So other than that, not a whole lot for us. Do you have any questions for what's going on in Public Works?
Been a tough winter.
Oh, it's been easy, actually. So
Yeah,
I
thanks.
can take winters like these.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. All right, under Mayor's report, Stacy, Dawn, Chairman, CEO, President, Chamber of Commerce, welcome.
Mayor, Council, first of all, congratulations, Captain Hines. Second, I want to talk about pickleball because after where should we eat, where should we stay, and where do we rent a boat, people ask, where do we play pickleball? I am not kidding. It's asked on a weekly basis, so it's exciting that that project is moving forward because our visitors clearly care about that. On a chamber note, obviously this last weekend was a little less colorful without the kites, but clearly with the open water, it was the right decision not to have the event. We are looking forward to 2025. It is as much work to unplan an event as it is to actually have the event. So it is still the same amount of work for us whether the event goes on or not. And we're just rolling right on into Earth Day, Try Clear Lake, and Thursdays on Main planning right now. A couple of exciting things. We did get some new DOT signs. We delivered those to the DOT. They'll be going up on the interstate, so the attraction signs will have a little bit fresher look as you drive. I haven't seen them up yet, but they'll be coming soon. They're in the possession of the DOT. We've been onboarding a new marketing specialist. We told you we're sharing a marketing specialist position with the EDC. Her name's Maddie Anderly. She is a Clear Lake native, graduated from Clear Lake, and so we're excited to have her on board. She's going to help us with some of our social media execution and digital marketing initiatives that we have moving forward, including a $10,000 grant that we received from Iowa Tourism to do a surf, sand, and rock and roll campaign. So that'll be launching here very soon. That's all I have, unless you have any questions for me.
Questions for Stacy?
Keep rocking and rolling. I love what you're doing, Stacy. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Diane. Thank you.
Yeah, good decision, tough decision on that, color of the wind too, but the right and correct one. Pleased with that. Just two things here. First, we have had a very, very busy fiscal year '24. I'm sure many of you have seen what has gone on within this community. We will have a very, very busy fiscal year '25. Our concern is always the well-being for this town. This council isn't about to stagnate, I'll tell you that. We will move ahead, and we will consider all of us. We are all citizens of this city, sitting up here as well. And we love this town. We know you love this town, and we're forging ahead with enthusiasm, to be sure. You can count on that. And now, I'm going to introduce a very happy father who has gained a adult male into his family. And the pictures on Facebook were very, very wonderful. Tell us about it.
No, for sure. Well, thank you for that. Yes, my oldest daughter, Morgan, got married this weekend, so I gained a son-in-law, so I'm very proud of that. But moving on to other matters. So we did get the CAD application submitted, so, again, that just a lot of work goes into that. Of course, working with our 501c3 nonprofit, the North Iowa Cultural Center and Museum, and our the folks we brought on to help us as a grant writer. I know oftentimes people think, you hire consultants for these things, but that's all because everybody, even that works for us, has a job, and you can't just stop in what you're doing because we're interrupted all day long. So we hire people from the outside to help kind of put these things together. And, we got our grant application in the day before it was due. So very excited about that. As you know from the support resolution that was approved at the last council meeting, we're asking the state for about $950,000 for the Music Enrichment and Immersive Center. And I just would recognize our 3 county board of supervisors for their strong support of us in that regard. And without them, their support, we wouldn't be able to apply for that. So very thankful for that. And hopefully here later this month, we might hear back. My expectation is that we'll probably be invited down to the Iowa Economic Development Board's March meeting and do a presentation down there, and may find out whether or not we get anything in April. So very, very exciting. We'll see. Again, it's a project that not very often do you get someone as august as Debbie Durham, the director of the State Department of Economic Development, say that is the best project of any project we have seen. And so we're happy for that. So.
Thanks, Scott. And now before I adjourn, Captain, make sure you come up. Where'd the captain go? Oh, there he is, hiding back there. And get these proper papers signed. And thank you all for being here for the captain's oath and swearing in. Now we can't swear at him. You remember that? But stay around here if you want to take pictures. Feel free to come up and do that. That being said, is there anything else, council? Meeting